What's up guys, I'm BTC. Got some interesting info about potential new characters in Overwatch. We're supposed to be getting a whole bunch of new ones with the release of Overwatch 2, but until then, last I heard, Blizzard said we're only getting one new character, and who that's going to be, we don't really know. It could be Echo, could be a whole bunch of them. I believe Sojourn is the only character that was confirmed to not be the next character. So, having said all that, we did get some teasers about what Echo can do during the BlizzCon animation announcing Overwatch 2. She was flying around, she had an interesting attack. Well, as it turns out, her attack may have already been told to us on the official Overwatch forums back in March of 2019. I was told about the forum post in an email from someone named Blueberry, and this is what Geoff Goodman had to say in that post. We had a ton of unused ability and weapon prototypes sitting around. They're generally either something we've tried on a hero in the past and didn't like, or something we did like but didn't feel like it fit right on the hero we were testing. Some examples off the top of my head. The Boblet gun. We had this gun where projectiles would stick into enemies, but the impact damage was pretty low. The alternate fire had a fairly long animation time, but would remotely detonate all the little bombs you stuck into all of your targets. It was pretty fun, we just need the right hero for it to work. It was really fun playing around with it on Tracer. Now if that sounds familiar, it's because it looks very similar to what we saw Echo doing during that animation. Here you can see it, she is throwing these little globs out that stick to the different enemies in the null sector, and then they all get detonated at the same time. So it does appear that this is how Echo's primary and secondary will function. You just kind of lob this stuff out at all the different enemies, and then you have some sort of long animation. He doesn't say how long it could be. It might only be like a second or 2 seconds or something. I don't fully expect it to be something really long, like 5-second channel or anything like that. It's probably going to be something that you could interrupt for sure, but it's not going to be this super long kind of ultimate style channeled ability. So does that mean that Echo is going to be a DPS? I mean, if we look at the video, you can see that she spends the entire time just attacking the robots and never tries to heal or support any of the other characters. She just destroys the robots. So what do you guys think? Is Echo going to be DPS or support? Let me know down below. There was also more in that post from Geoff Goodman. He talked about the Invis Wall. This was originally on Sombra. He said the idea is that you plant the wall that made it so that enemies couldn't see you through it, but you and your allies could see just fine. It didn't block bullets like a barrier, it was just for hiding while running past a choke or just throwing it into the middle of a fight. It was pretty scary to fight against when all these projectiles were magically coming out of the thing, but you couldn't see who or where they were being fired from. It was like a high-tech smoke bomb, kind of. So this is a very interesting ability. It doesn't sound like it would have been an ultimate, it was just a normal ability that she could throw out during the fight. And I actually had something like this, essentially a cloaking field, as one of the abilities for my hero concept, Marcus. Now, ultimately, I didn't like it as a fit for the character, so I took it off. I thought of that way before I ever saw this post, so that was like months and months ago when I came up with the idea for Marcus. But I do think that sort of thing would work, although it probably wouldn't be the greatest on a DPS character. Although keep in mind, originally when Sombra was being created, Blizzard considered putting her into the support category and not the DPS category. They ultimately ended up going with the DPS, but I think if you had that sort of a cloaking field, like an area cloaking field, it would work, but you'd probably have to put it on a support character. I don't think putting it on a DPS would be good. There's something else interesting that I wanted to share with you guys. I stumbled across this while I was grabbing some screenshots on the King's Row map to use in a new hero concept video that I'm making. Now, I'm not going to pretend that this is anything new. This has likely been in the game since the map was first created, but it's one of those things that a lot of people don't notice or pay attention to, and I just thought it would be neat to kind of share it with you guys. So, on the King's Row map, you have a whole bunch of different spawn rooms. Now, normally in the start of the spawn room, you can look around, explore the entire thing, because you have about a minute before the match starts. However, in the other spawn rooms, you don't really have time to do that, because the match is going on. So here's the second attacker spawn room. Normally what happens is when you go in here, you spawn right about here, you're facing this direction, you immediately go through the door and to the left to go and help your team. However, there is something kind of interesting. So in case you haven't seen this, Here you go. If you turn a little bit to the left, and behind you, there's a painting. And in this painting is a character that you might recognize. So here is a picture from one of the BlizzCons a couple years ago. This was a whole bunch of the early alpha characters that were potentially going to be in Overwatch. There's a bunch that you can see that actually did get included, like Torbjorn, but he's called Ironclad. You have Hanzo, who has all the Genji armor. That's because it was the same character at one point in time. You have others like Reaper and Angelica, who would become Mercy, all that sort of stuff. But the one that we're going to pay attention to is McLeod. And you can see from this little cutout here that this is the exact same part of this painting. So they probably have full images for a lot of these different characters. For whatever reason, they haven't included them in the game. But McLeod had a Claymore, he had the only one ability, and Stampede, which probably meant that he was actually going to get to ride his horse during the match, or maybe you could summon a bunch of horses or summon some other things or something, right? It's just kind of interesting that this was a character that they had on the initial roster of potential Overwatch characters, and he actually is in the game in this painting. Now, whether or not they're ever going to add this character, I don't know. It's very clearly that this was heavily inspired, shall we say, by Highlander with the whole McLeod, Claymore, and the only one and all that other stuff. So they would probably have to change some stuff around. But it's just kind of interesting. But I know a lot of people probably never noticed it or really paid much attention to it, and I just thought it would be interesting to share with you guys. Now, if you're wondering when the next character is going to come out, I have no idea. Normally we would expect one around March, but you know, I think the entire schedule kind of got thrown out the window with the whole Overwatch 2 thing. So what character do you think is going to be next? Let me know down below. Thanks for watching, and if you'd like to see more, subscribe and hit that bell so you don't miss anything. Also, come hang out in my Discord server and my Twitch live stream. Special thanks to my Patreon supporters. If you'd like to see what kind of cool VIP rewards you can get, check the links down below. And remember, always blame the controller, because it's never your fault.